So I've had the Sony Fx30 for a little over a year now, and I have used it to shoot everything from YouTube to interviews to NFL and NBA games. I've really had the chance to push this camera to its limits and really learn its pros and its cons. So today we'll talk about some things I absolutely love about this camera, who it's actually intended for, and towards the end of the video we're going to cover some drawbacks that ultimately led me to just save up my money and get the Sony Fx3, so stick around. So first, we obviously got to talk about the price. This is part of Sony's cinema line. It's basically the light version of the Sony Fx3, which is a full frame version of this camera. The same exact build and body, but it's just a full frame versus a crop sensor, but for less than half the price. So when it comes to price, we have to talk about that just a little deeper than the surface, because when buying a camera, it's not just the body. You got to buy lenses, lights, microphones, all types of other accessories, and it really adds up really quick. So buying a camera at a lower price allows you that flexibility in your budget to spend more money on those other things. It's especially important to remember with a camera like the Sony Fx30 to record those higher quality versions of 4K, 10-bit, and higher frame rates. You have to buy specific memory cards that cost way more than your usual Walmart SanDisk. So be sure to remember the hidden costs that come with buying a camera that has such high resolution and high frame rate options. So yeah, another little upside here is the APS-C sensor or crop sensor. It has its ups and downs. But since we're talking about the pros right now, that means you get a little bit of extra reach. And before anything, personally, I'm a sports videographer and I have found this useful time and time again. Prime example, the Pro Bowl this past year. It's 2024. Earlier this year, the 2024 Pro Bowl, there was a mix-up with my credential and I got absolutely screwed and sent all the way up to the top of the stands. Now, it wasn't perfect by any means, but I was still able to get some fairly usable shots to have that extra reach on top of my 70 to 200 millimeter lens, and I was able to get some pretty solid Instagram reels from it. And speaking of lenses, that actually brings up another upside to APS-C cameras, and that is your lens options. Since it's Sony E-mount, not only do you have the option to use all the full frame lenses, cropped in of course, but there are a bunch of less expensive lens options out there that are made specifically for crop sensor cameras, and they are way less expensive than full frame. Trust me, because I just got my second full frame camera and those lens options, they're some money. Now, the frame rates that you get on this camera are the biggest reason that I bought it at the beginning of last season. In full HD, you get 24, 30, 60, 120, and even 240. In 4K, you get 30, 24 as well, 60, and 120. Most definitely some more to come on that 4K 120 a little later. Some really important stuff on that, but we'll touch on that in a bit. But yeah, as a sports videographer, being able to record in those frame rates was really important to me for speed ramping and getting those slow-mo shots. Before I got this camera, I was rocking the Sony a7 III, and not only is that 8-bit color, but the best that had was 4K 30 frames per second. This means I couldn't do any slow-mo unless I shot in full HD instead of 4K. Not only does that mean lower quality video, but if I tried to punch in that HD video for a slow-mo Instagram reel, it wasn't crisp like at all. I mean, it could be worse of course, but I was way too insecure of those 1080 shots to post any of them on social media. Shooting in 4K is what really allows you to crop into your video post-production and still keep that high quality look. I know there are plenty of cameras out there that can technically shoot in those higher frame rates, but since the Fx30 has an internal fan, I never have to deal with overheating. And I live in Florida where I'm shooting games outside in the heat, the Florida heat, all day, and I have never one time had as much as a warning from the camera on overheating. You get S-Log, so you can get the most out of your colors, highlights, shadows, basically get the best dynamic range out of your camera. Cine EI, which shoots in S-Log but limits your camera to the 2 base ISOs. S-Cinetone, which gives your shots more information than your normal picture profiles, but not quite as much as shooting in a flat S-Log 3 profile. Man. Now, the build of this camera is something that I am a huge fan of. Now, one look at this thing and you can tell that it's been drinking its milk, man. Like, it's got a little bit of bulk on it, which gives it a great durable feel to it. The button mapping on this is amazing. You can reprogram it however you want, but you've got exterior buttons and dials for everything that you need already. White balance, ISO, shutter, zebras, and so on. I am a huge fan of the button on the front left bottom. It's not something I ever really thought about before my Fx30, but after having it, when I'm out using my A7 IV for a shoot, I definitely feel myself wishing I had that button. Now this is beautiful. There are tally lights all over, so no matter what angle you're recording from, it's going to be blatantly obvious if you're recording or not. See, because you don't want to be like some people out there who've been yapping at a camera for the past half hour to figure out that it's not even paying you no mind, whoever those people may be. Also, it's got plenty of mounting holes all around it, so even without a cage, hey, you can go crazy. Now, I did give you a good amount of highlights thus far, but I'm gonna throw up some more dope features on the screen. I suggest you pause and check out these notable mentions. I don't really wanna run this video too long naming every feature this camera has. Now, no camera is perfect, and the FX30 is absolutely no exception to that, especially considering it's a beautifully watered down version of the FX3. I mean, no disrespect with that statement though, you know, we talking Fiji over here, we talking Voss. All right, so let's get to these cons. I told you the APS-C sensor has its ups and downs, so let's talk about it. One of the downsides here is you're not gonna get a bad per se, but definitely a lower quality image than you're gonna get in a full frame, and a tighter shot, of course. Now, while that can work to your advantage, like in my Pro Bowl example, there are times where space is limited, like if you're shooting a YouTube video, or if I'm recording a touchdown and my subject is coming towards me. The closer they get, the harder it is for you to get your full subject because you're just so punched in. And that kind of pushes me to the biggest con of this camera for me personally, and that is the drawbacks for the 4K 120. Honestly, the 4K 120 was what I was looking forward to the absolute most when getting this camera, because especially for a sports videographer like me, that means I can get those nice, buttery, smooth, 120 frames slow-mo shots of these touchdowns, right? But the fact that it's an APS-C and it already has a 1.5 times crop, when you're shooting in 4K 120, you're getting an additional 1.6 times crop, and you're just so close. And not only that, it introduces a ton of noise in the shadows. If you've got extra space to work with and like control over your entire situation and lights and all that, maybe that's not as big an issue for you. But if you're running gunning, or you're like me trying to get a touchdown in celebration, you are pretty much out of luck. I mean, and that noise, it is so much more noticeable noise in the shadows, and that really disappointed me, especially when I'm shooting an NBA game inside or a football team with dark uniforms. It's just way more noticeable than I was hoping for. And while it does have dual base ISOs, it's 800 and 2500, which is a lot less than the Sony A7 III or the FX3, which is 800 and 12,500 or 12,800, one of those. And this is most definitely a video first camera. It can take photos, but since it has an electronic shutter instead of a mechanical one, it can't take continuous or burst photos, just stills one at a time. The closest you can get to that is rapidly pressing the capture button. And while on the topic of photography, it has no viewfinder. Personally, I don't really care for viewfinders. I am a video first person, like 95 to 5% type, and I don't think I've ever used a viewfinder one time in my life. So personally, that doesn't matter for me, but for you, that may be a completely different deal. That may be an absolute deal breaker for you. But if you need a viewfinder, you're probably not looking at the FX30 for photography anyways. All right, so now who do I think this camera is for? I think it's for that person who wants to get themselves a serious camera, but doesn't want to drop as much money on like a FX3, FX6, A7S III, but they want to walk in the room, people look at their camera and be well respected. Now, in my experience, nobody's gonna come up and be like, oh my gosh, is that an FX30? No, they're gonna come up and ask if it's an FX3. But you know, like I said, they will put some respect on your name. If you're looking for a YouTube or talking head camera, this will work great, but I do think there are more fitting options than this, some cheaper too. Now, of course, that depends on how much you're looking to spend. It'll work great for the content you want to make by all means, but its intended purpose is more so of an entry-level professional camera for jobs and filmmaking. Now, if you are on the hunt for something that's a little less on the pockets and more centered around content creator type cameras, I've got two cams that I'll pop up right here. You can't go wrong with either one of those, so feel free to check out those videos. But as always, appreciate you. Like, comment, subscribe, all that, and I'll holla at you.